All right, welcome back, boys and girls. Welcome back to the series. In this video, we are going to be working on this icon. Now, to me, weather is a very, very beautiful thing. You can express it in a very different ways. And this is what I've tried to achieve by coding in that gradient that we have done before. Now, I also think a big part of what makes weather very beautiful is the icons. Now, this icon has to change based on the condition of the city that we are in. So say if it's cloudy, it has to show a cloudy icon. If it's clear, it has to show a sun icon, and so on and so forth, yeah? This is very simple, but then the problem is actually finding good icons. So the most famous one now is this. It's called weather icons, and it's around 220. It's a lot of icons, and they are icons that are made by SVG, and they're actually really handy. I like them a lot. So in terms of developer experience, these are really the best that you could work with. They are almost the same size, which is actually important. I will show that in a second why. And they are SVG, so they load up very quickly, and they are based on like kind of a font thing. So if you have used Font Awesome before, they are almost the same. I will leave a link of that in the description below if you want to check them out. However, I had a problem with them. My problem was that they are not styled. They are very, how to say this, like, I don't know, like very simple, way too simple. Yeah, that's my opinion of them, way too simple. Now, that might work with other implementations, but if you look at the cards that we are making, the cards have nothing already. Like there's only a city name, a country name, and then a temperature and a state. There's nothing else going on in the cards. So I didn't like only having this, for example, here, because also the background changes, and then what color would you have them? It wasn't going very well for me. And I did have a version coded using these icons, but it wasn't turning out as good, so I moved on. And after looking forever, literally, I found this. So this is a free PSD file that has around, I don't know, many icons that are good quality, and it's made by Alex. Thank you very much, Alex. You're the best. And I will definitely leave this link in the description. You can go there and download them. Once you download the PSD, I had to do some magic or whatever. I'm really not gonna go into that now, and export each simple icon of these into basically a file on its own. I've done that, so I just can get the zip file, and I will show you the folder, which all of this is here. So if you look at here, so you can see all of these files. You can see there's Breezy, and then I've exported in 2x and 3x and 4x. So that depends on your own implementation, how big you want the card to be, what kind of implementation you want to have, and then the size of the icon. I am usually going to be using the 2x size for this project. And they look fine, they look really good. They implement everything in the card, and I love them. My only issue with them is the fact that there are some icons that are bigger than other icons, and I will show you in a minute why that is a problem. Now, I want to also talk about how are we going to select different icons. Now, the thing is, what we're going to do is we are going to do a request to an API. Now, I'm going to be using Open Weather Maps API. I am not a huge fan of Open Weather Maps. If I were to redo the whole thing, I would definitely go for Dark Sky. And I don't want to talk too much about the APIs now. My next video is going to be 100% about the APIs. In this video, it might go on a little bit longer. I just want to finish a couple of things, just finish up the card and so on. And then from the next video, I will talk to you about how to make API requests from the very basic before we integrate them into our app. I do like Dark Sky API much better. They only work with latitude and longitude, which is an issue, but can be solvable. So it's usually optimized for mobile use. But the most important thing that you need to look at is the response. So they have this minutely response that has a big summary, and then they have hourly responses, and they have daily. And most importantly, these guys will give you 100% open access to their API. So they give you all the data that you want. There is no data that you cannot get for 1,000 API requests every day. So once you try to develop your app, you can develop the whole app normally. And as long as you don't cross 1,000 API requests per day, you don't have to worry about any costs. In the case of open weather maps, there are many things that you can't really get. Like, I think they don't do a forecast by day. They don't do, they will only give you a forecast every 5 hours for the next day and so on. And you have to pay upfront for you to get these data, and I don't think that is really good. And also, I don't like the structure of their data. I'm not trying to say bad things about them. I'm sure there are so many apps out there that are using them and everything is great. Now, I've used this, and for our purposes, which is a very, very simple card here, they work very well. So I'm just gonna keep rolling with them. They're actually good for what we want to do. Now, I wanna just take a look at this. We are going to be receiving the response exactly like this in the JSON format, okay? So in the JSON format, say for example, you search for Sydney, you search for Brisbane, you search for whatever, you will get back this. You get the coordinate of the city that you have searched for, and then you get the weather. The weather is an object, and inside that object, is an array of objects. Inside that object, you can see something called main equals clear. And this is what I'm going to be using from the API to actually change the icon. So if the API says it's clear, I want the app to show this icon. If the API says it's cloudy, I want the API to show this icon. Now, this is very simple to code, but what are the possible values of this main thingy? Now, if you scroll down a little bit here, go down, yeah, you can see this list of weather condition codes. So if you click on this file, on this link, you can go here, and these are the weather icons and the weather conditions. So you could tell you, they already provide icons. You can say here, you can see here, these are the weather conditions. There is thunderstorm, there is drizzle, there is rain, there is snow, and there is mist, and there are different kind of like, I'll say there's different descriptions. So there's light snow, there's snow, and there's heavy snow, and so on. The rain, there's light rain, there's moderate rain, heavy intensity rain, and so on. And open weather maps do actually provide you with icons, but their icons are so small and they're not really good. And that's why I resorted to finding my own PSD and doing the hard work of just like exporting all these PNG files and using them. Again, thank you very much, Alexi. I think you probably should check him out. He's on Drizzle, and see if you're looking to hire a designer, you probably should hire him. He's done really, really a good job with these icons. Thank you very much again. Okay, so that's good. Now what I want to do is actually code, write a code that will change the icon that's being displayed based on this string. So what I know is when I do request to the API, I am going to get a string here, a group of weather parameters. Yep, here, this one is called rain, snow, extreme, whatever it is, which is going to be a string. So it can be clear, it can be cloudy, and I know that these values are here. It can be thunderstorm, it can be drizzle, it can be rain, it can be snow, it can be mist, dust, clear, clouds, and so on. So I want to code that. Now, if you think about it, I already have my icons here, and I know that I have icons for breezy, I have icons for blizzard, I have icons for drizzle, I have icons for hail, and so on. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to copy all these icons, and I will leave a zipped file link in the description for sure. You just copy all these icons and you go into the folder you're working in, go into public and go into image, and then paste all these icons here. Yes, replace the first one that we had from previously. So now all the icons are there. All right, good. Now let's jump into VS Code and try to figure this out. And before we jump into VS Code, I actually like to think the user armored muffin. He recommended that we use VS styled components extension, and once we do that, this is the VS styled component extension. So once you install that, I think we can get a CSS highlighting inside our emotion CSS that we are writing, which is really, really good. So before it wasn't really highlighted, and now it looks much better. Thank you very much for the recommendation. I appreciate it. Okay. Now, if I go to my icon file, what I want to do now is I want this part to be changed based on a value that will come from the API. So the way to do this is actually a very simple switch statement. So I'm going to do, first I'm going to initialize a variable. Let's just call it var in this case. It doesn't really matter. Var, let's call it icon. And then this is going to be an empty string. And then I'm going to switch, I'm going to have a switch statement, and this switch statement is going to take, it's going to be based on props.condition. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass a prop called condition from the main component, which is the weather card component, into icon. And once that prop comes in here, I'm going to change the value of the SRC here based on that condition. So say for example, I want it, if when this is clear, I want it to be, I want icon to have one specific value. Okay. And when, and then another case, when it's clouds, you want icon to have another value. Yep. I want icon to have another value, and so on. And when it's default, I want icon to have a different value, and so on. Okay, so now I've already coded this before, so I'm just gonna take, I just wanna show you this. So let's just take the one for clouds. So this is cloudy. Yep, let's just take this, put it here. And then also let's take the ones for clear now and put that there. Okay, beautiful. So now when I pass a prop called condition that is clear, I'm going to be showing icon variable is going to be attached, is going to be assigned to this value. And when, oopsie, icon equal, and when I'm going to pass clouds in props condition, icon is going to be equal to this value. Now the last thing I need to do is to assign the source of that image to icon. So if I take this away and then just give icon here, that's it. That's all I need to do. Now, if I go back to the component where I am invoking or calling the icon component, so if I go back to the main component here, I can pass on condition here, and oops, I can pass on condition. I can pass on condition here to be equal clear, for example, to be equal to clear. Okay. Now, if I save this right now and I go to my app, I can see that it changed all of them to clear. Now, this is not what I want to do. What I want to do is actually have this condition come from the app whenever I'm invoking the weather card itself. So instead of giving assigned to condition here, I'm actually going to assign this to a prop. So I'm going to assign this to props.condition. Now these props belong to the weather card component itself that we are calling inside the app. So now if you go back here, it doesn't work because there's no value to it. But if you go here and do condition equals clear, you'll see one of them is working now. Yep, and then we can also take this condition and then give it to the second one, and instead of clear, we can do clouds. Save that, and it's good to go. So now what's going on here, and I actually want to explain this a little bit further. If you remember the slide from the first lecture I did, so you see that I am now inside the weather card component, and the weather card component has subcomponents. So we worked inside the icon component to change the icon based on a prop value, right? But that prop value is going to be passed into icon based on the weather card component. And that prop value is actually coming from the weather engine, which we haven't started working on yet. But right now I'm just giving it the data manually. So I am passing on the condition prop to weather card, and weather card is passing on to icon. So if you go here again, let me just explain this clearly again. So I am passing on the condition prop value manually into the weather card, and weather card is later passing that on to icon. And then icon is taking that and it's using it to calculate which icon to display. I hope that is clear. Now this is called props drilling, and it's actually, yeah, some people call it like, I don't know, troublesome maybe. It can get a bit messy if you have like, I don't know, many components and you are drilling down your props a million times. In this case, it's actually fine. Ken C. Dodds once had a blog post about this, and he mentioned that it's not really a big problem as long as you can track back how long it's going. And I think it's extremely important also to manage how many levels are you drilling your props. You don't want to be drilling your props a million level, or maybe like, I don't know, 8 levels. Right now we're just drilling it for 3 levels, right? From app to component and from component to icon. So I think it's absolutely fine. You don't need to worry about it. It's still very readable code. Okay, that is good to go. And then the last thing we need to do here is actually assign different values for the other conditions that we can have. And for this, I'm actually just going to copy, oopsie, this is the old code. I'm just going to copy this code. And I'm going to paste that code here. There is really nothing much going on with that code. It's a very simple switch statement, and it's basically just, yeah, just values based and images based on the things that I've just explained, which is like which image to show and so on. But that's basically it. There's nothing much going on there to actually explain it. I'm gonna close this window now, and yeah, you can see if it's fog, just show this image. If it's tornado, show this image. It's dust, show this image, and so on. And I can actually test these now. So I can make this dust, and I can go back here, and I can see that now that this is dusty. And let's add another one here. And let's, I don't know, let's choose another one randomly from icon. Let's just say tornado. So if it's tornado, so yeah, you see this tornado icon. Now I want to just wrap up before we move on to the next point, which is that I'm going to make an API request. We'll talk about that extensively in the next video. That API request is going to give me an answer of a string that shows the condition of the weather in wherever I'm looking for. I'm going to take that and take that string and pass it as props inside the weather card, and that weather card is going to take that prop and pass it on inside icon, and icon will take that prop, and based on the value of this API request, basically of the string, I'm going to show different icons. That's it. It's not really difficult, but I just wanted to explain it like clearly. I hope you guys get it now. Okay, so far so good. So now what I'm doing is I already know what is the condition and I already know what the temperature is, but I'm actually not using these to change the temperature here and the condition here. I don't like that. It's a very simple thing. I just want to finish it off right now. So now I know that weather card has temp and has condition inside of it. If I go back to the component, which is the weather card component, you can see here that I'm calling the component with props. And props is basically here as an object, and this props object, you can access stuff inside of it by calling props.condition. And this is how we access the temperature as well, props.temp. This is okay. I am not a big fan of writing this, but it's kind of like the basic way to describe it to someone who doesn't know anything about React, to show you that there's something called props, and inside these props we have temp, we have condition. So you access the temp by saying props.temp, and you access the condition by saying props.condition. But I don't think this is a good idea. What I like more is to actually just pass on here, instead of props, do something called deconstruction, I think. Yeah, which is you just pass on the actual object that you want the props to be. In this case, I want to have temp and I want to have condition. That's it. And then now I can actually remove all these props. So prop dot, I'm just going to press Control D from my keyboard to select all the prop dot instances, and then I'm just going to delete them. That's it. So now I'm using temperature directly. Now I have access to whatever inside the props being passed to weather card, which is temp and condition. And the reason I prefer this more is now I know whenever I call for weather card, I have to give it temperature and condition. So when I go here, I have to give it temperature and condition. So whenever I look at the code, I know that you can only call weather card with temperature and condition. And you see there's nothing here changed. If you refresh this, it's the same thing. Nothing has changed at all. But I like to have it this way because it's more communicative to me. What is this component receiving? It's receiving temperature and condition. Beautiful. Now I have the temperature and condition, but I'm not actually using them in the subcomponent called condition. So let's just pass it on. So let's just say temp equals temp, temp equals temp, and condition equals condition, which is like, again, this is prop drilling. I'm just passing these props down the line. I'm not doing anything with them. And then let's open that component called condition. And let's look down there and see what's going on. So here, first of all, I really don't need the class names. I don't know why I still have them. So we can delete these, and actually let me just delete it from here as well quickly. I don't need this as well, just delete it. Beautiful. So now what I'm going to do, again, I know that whenever I call condition, I'm not gonna just call it with props, I'm gonna call it with two things. I'm gonna call it with temp, and I'm gonna call it with condition. Oopsie, this is a simple, this is a lowercase c. Okay, and because of that, I know also that instead of writing props.temp, props.condition, and so on, I'm just gonna replace this 20 degrees with a JavaScript, a JavaScript syntax that says temp. So it's much readable code. I know this is temp and nothing else. Again, this class, I'm just gonna remove this and put here condition. That's it. And if I go back here, and you can see the condition now, and the condition and the temperature are being passed on. So again, it's the same exact idea. I am calling weather card with data, which is I'm just passing on manually at the moment, and this data is being drilled into other subcomponents down the line. So this is good. So now whenever I call the temp and the condition, this is being displayed everywhere. So I'm getting the temperature displayed, and I'm getting the condition displayed as well. So it's tornado, the icon is tornado, and the temperature is showing properly. Everything is perfect, and the background gradient is changing. Very, very well done. Looks really good. Now I want to go back to my point when I said the only issue I have with these icons is the fact that some of them are different sizes, and you can see this being a trouble here where the sun is really way too big and is throwing away the balance in the card, while this icon is much better because the balance in the card is much more even now. Even here you can see this 40 is not the same line with this 20, and this is what you want to get at. This is not what you want to get at. Now, the only way to get away from this is to actually have a designer design icons for you that are the same size everywhere. And even if you look at these icons, not all of them are the same size. Most of them are, but some of them are bigger. But because these are SVG, you can actually change the size however you want, which is really good. Yeah, but this is something to keep in mind if you want to develop your own weather app or something, which is not what we're looking forward to do here at all. Okay, so far so good. Another thing I want to do just to move this on, I'm also going to pass city to location. I'm just going to pass city. Again, this is prop drilling, and then I'm going to pass country. I'm going to pass country here, city and country, and then I am going to put these in the props, so I know that whenever I call weather card, I have to give it city and I have to give it country. That's it. And whenever I call it, I'm just gonna call it with these two things. You see, it's working with props is extremely simple. So I'm going to give it, let's just call this Sydney, and the country here is, say for example, Sydney is in Australia. Yeah, thank you. I actually know that. Wow, my mom must be so proud. And let's change this to Melbourne. And the last thing is, let's change this to something very, I don't know, London. London always has really bad weather, but let's just give this Great Britain. We save that, and then we go here, and it's not rendering. And the reason it's not rendering is because we are not using these props inside of location. So location now is receiving the props. The location, when you call it location, is receiving the props, but they're not being used. And again, I'm going to do the same pattern here. I'm going to say, okay, whenever you call location, you have to give it city and you have to give it country. You have to give it city and you have to give it country with a lower C. Beautiful. And I'm going to replace Sydney with simply the city. And I'm going to replace this AU with country, and we can call it a day. Happy days. That's it. Our weather card is done. So this is the most basic, most static weather card. And yeah, it's basically working now. Whenever you change the temperature here, sorry, I didn't even saved. Whenever you change the temperature here, everything else will update. I want to stack these up to just to show you what I mean. So whenever you change this to 12, you can see the gradient is changing. And whenever you change the condition here to say rain, the icon changes, this changes, and this also changes. And whenever you change this to 3 degrees Celsius, again, the temperature behind the gradient behind changes. everything is working perfectly. This video might have been a slightly longer than my usual videos. I just wanted to finish a couple of things, and the next video we get to the real stuff, in which we will be looking at what does API do, and how do we do a request to the API, how we handle the data that's coming back, and how we can integrate this into React. It's probably going to take 2 videos. I want you guys to really understand what an API does and how to handle the data coming from it and how to make requests to it. So I'm going to give it like a really very good explanation of how things work right down there. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Like this video if you like it. Dislike this video if you dislike it. I'm so happy with all the subscribers who have joined us recently. Thank you so much for all the subscribers. And thank you so much for paying attention to this. It really means a lot to me. And I hope you're learning something. And please let me know what you think about my teaching style and about the series and about the project and about everything in the comments below. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.